Welcome back, everyone. We've had a lot of requests to do a deep dive on Surah Al-Fatiha.
It's definitely a popular one.
And for good reason. It's the opening chapter of the Qur'an, but so much more than just the first few lines.
Yeah.
It's often considered to be the very essence of the whole book.
The heart of it, yeah.
Exactly. So today we're going to unpack how these 7 verses shape a Muslim's daily life, their core beliefs, even their whole relationship with God.
Sounds good. It really is a powerful chapter, Surah Al-Fatiha. It holds a special place for Muslims.
Yeah.
Because it's recited in every prayer multiple times a day. So it creates this constant dialogue with the divine.
So let's actually start at the very beginning. The first verse, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, it's instantly recognizable, even to people who aren't Muslim.
Mm.
But what's the deeper significance here, beyond the simple translation of, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful?
Well, it's interesting you use the word simple there, because while the translation might seem straightforward, it really does establish the foundation for everything that follows in the surah, like invoking Allah's name, but specifically emphasizing his attributes of mercy and compassion right up front. That really sets the tone.
Yeah, I see that.
It's a reminder that even before you do anything, engage in any action, big or small, you first acknowledge your reliance on God's grace.
So it's like setting the stage almost, creating an atmosphere of humility and seeking blessing before you even take that first step.
Exactly. And it's not even just about the individual. Think about the collective impact. Imagine millions of Muslims all over the world, all starting their day, their work, even simple tasks by saying these words, invoking this phrase.
Right.
It creates this amazing sense of unity. It reminds us that we're all bound by this, this shared belief in a merciful God.
Yeah, it's a powerful thought. Okay, so we start by acknowledging God's mercy. And then in that second verse, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, we're declaring that all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. What does this tell us about the Islamic concept of God?
This verse, it goes beyond just simply praising God. It's really establishing his absolute sovereignty. And that term Rabb, often translated as Lord, it implies so much more than just being a ruler or a master. It suggests a cherisher, a sustainer, the one who provides for and cares for all of creation.
Oh, okay.
And by saying all the worlds, it expands the scope beyond just our planet. It suggests, a vast and intricate universe that is all under God's care.
So it's not just about expressing gratitude. It's about acknowledging a power and wisdom that is so much greater than our own.
Exactly.
Right. It seems to touch on that sense of awe and wonder that you find in a lot of different spiritual traditions.
Absolutely. And it kind of sets up the framework for the relationship between humanity and God. One of humility, one of dependence, and really recognizing our place within this larger cosmic order.
That makes the repetition of those attributes of mercy in verse 3, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, even more interesting. Why repeat the most gracious, the most merciful, when it was already mentioned in that first verse?
Right. It's not simply repetition, it's emphasis and nuance. Rahman signifies God's universal mercy, the one that, encompasses all of creation.
Okay.
Regardless of belief or action.
Right.
It's, the rain that falls on everyone, the sun that shines on everyone, the air we all breathe. But Rahim, while it's still rooted in mercy, it's more specific. It's the mercy that is reserved for those who believe and strive to follow God's guidance. It's like saying, yes, my mercy extends to all, but for those who choose to walk the path of faith, there's a deeper level, a more intimate level of compassion and forgiveness.
That's a fascinating distinction. It seems to suggest that even though God's mercy is boundless, there's also this element of choice involved. Like, we can choose to open ourselves to that deeper level of Rahim by aligning ourselves with his will.
Exactly. It highlights the significance of conscious effort, intention, and that ongoing journey of seeking closeness to God.
This brings us to verse 4, which seems to shift gears a bit. Maliki Yawmiddin, Master of the Day of Judgment. Why is this concept introduced here, right after emphasizing God's mercy?
This is where the balance comes in. While the surah begins by emphasizing God's compassion, it also, reminds us that he is the ultimate judge. And this isn't meant to evoke fear, it's meant to instill a sense of accountability. Knowing that our actions have consequences, not just in this life, but on the day of judgment, that adds weight to our choices.
Right.
It encourages us to live with intention, knowing that we're responsible for our deeds.
It's like saying that God's mercy doesn't It doesn't negate our free will or diminish the significance of our actions.
Precisely. It's about recognizing the profound impact of our choices and understanding that ultimately we answer for them.
It's interesting how these verses weave together these different aspects of faith.
Yeah.
You know, God's mercy, human responsibility, the day of judgment. It creates this tapestry that's both comforting and kind of thought-provoking.
And that complexity is really at the heart of Islamic theology. You know, it's not about simplistic answers or just blind faith. It's about a nuanced understanding of our relationship with God, with ourselves, and with the world around us.
Okay. Which brings us to verse 5. Yaka nabudu wa yaka nasta'in, which translates to, you alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. This seems like a very direct and powerful declaration of faith. What makes this verse so central to Islamic belief?
This verse is really a cornerstone of Islamic monotheism.
Oh.
It's a clear rejection of any other deities or, intermediaries. The act of worship, of directing all our prayers and devotion solely to Allah. That's paramount. But equally important is that second part, you alone we ask for help. Because it emphasizes our complete reliance on God. We're acknowledging that we are not self-sufficient. We need His guidance and support in all aspects of our lives.
I can see how that would resonate deeply with a believer. It's a declaration of surrender, recognizing our limitations and placing our trust in a higher power.
Exactly. And it's not just a passive surrender. It's an active seeking. We're constantly reminded to turn to God, not just in times of need, but in every moment, seeking His help in making decisions, navigating challenges, just finding our way.
So it's about cultivating a constant awareness of God's presence and seeking His guidance in everything that we do. And it seems like that theme of guidance continues in verse 6. Idina sirat al-mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path. What is this straight path that Muslims are asking to be guided towards?
The straight path is a really central concept in Islam. It's the path of righteousness, of living in accordance with God's will, as revealed through the Qur'an and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. But it's not a rigid, predetermined path. It's a journey. It's a journey of striving, of constantly seeking to align our thoughts, actions, and intentions with what's pleasing to God.
So it's not just about following a set of rules. It's more of an internal process of self-reflection and seeking that alignment with divine principles.
Exactly. And that's what makes it an ongoing journey. It's not a destination. We're constantly asking for guidance, for help in staying on the path, recognizing that we're prone to straying, making mistakes, getting lost.
Right. That really resonates with just the human experience, right?
Yeah.
We all stumble. We all question. We all need guidance sometimes.
Absolutely. And this verse, it acknowledges that human fallibility, while also offering, this source of hope and support. We're not expected to be perfect, but we are expected to strive, to seek to turn to God for help in navigating the complexities of life.
And it seems like that striving is further emphasized in the final verse of Surah Al-Fatiha, Sirat Alatina Anamta Alehim Kairo Magdubi Alehim Ladalen. What's the significance of this verse in wrapping up the chapter?
This verse, it kind of adds another layer of perspective to the idea of guidance. We're not just asking to be guided to any path. We're specifically asking to be guided to the path of those who have received God's grace. Those who have walked this path before us, who have found favor in His eyes. And just as importantly, we're also asking to avoid the paths of those who have gone astray or incurred God's anger.
So it's about learning from both positive and negative examples, from the successes and the failures of those who came before us.
Precisely. It's recognizing that, we're not alone in this journey.
Right.
We have this rich tradition of, prophets, saints, righteous people to learn from. Their lives serve as guideposts on our own path. And, just as importantly, we're cautioned against repeating the mistakes of those who strayed from the right way.
It's amazing how these 7 verses, recited so frequently by Muslims, manage to encompass such a wide range of theological and spiritual concepts, from God's attributes to human responsibility, to seeking guidance and learning from those who came before us. It really does feel like the essence of Islamic belief distilled into this one powerful chapter.
And that's why Surah Al-Fatiha is so much more than just an opening prayer. You know, it's a roadmap for navigating life. It's a reminder of our relationship with God. It's a source of inspiration and comfort that Muslims carry with them throughout their days.
We spent some time now unpacking all these layers of meaning within each verse of Surah Al-Fatiha.
Yeah.
And it's really remarkable how much depth is packed into these 7 short verses. But I'm curious how this all translates into the lived experience of a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
What role does Surah Al-Fatiha play in their daily lives beyond just the theological concepts?
Well, that's a great question. And the answer is really deeply intertwined with the practice of prayer in Islam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Surah Al-Fatiha, it's not just a beautiful piece of scripture, it's an integral part of the 5 daily prayers that Muslims perform.
Right. I've heard that it's actually recited in every single unit of prayer. Is that true?
That's right, yeah. In each unit of prayer, which is called a rak'ah, Muslims stand before God, recite Surah Al-Fatiha, and engage in these various postures of, bowing and prostration.
Okay.
So this means that someone who's praying the 5 daily prayers will recite this chapter at least 17 times a day.
Wow. So it's not just something that you read or memorize. It's like woven into the very fabric of their daily routine.
Yeah.
What kind of impact does that repeated recitation have on someone's, their spiritual life?
Well, imagine, starting your day by acknowledging God's mercy, praising him, and seeking his guidance.
Yeah.
And then throughout the day, you return to these same verses, reaffirming those beliefs, those intentions, asking for help, reminding yourself of that straight path. It creates this rhythm, this connection, a constant awareness of God's presence in your life.
It's almost like a meditative practice in a way, bringing you back to center, reminding you of what really matters.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it's not just about the words themselves, but the state of heart and mind that they cultivate, the humility, the gratitude, the seeking, the striving, these things, they become ingrained through that repeated recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha.
It's amazing how something so short can have such a profound impact. It goes beyond just reciting words. It becomes a way of life.
Exactly. And it extends beyond the formal prayers, too. Muslims might recite Surah Al-Fatiha at other times as well.
Right.
When they're seeking solace in times of difficulty or asking for guidance when they need to make a decision or just simply wanting to feel closer to God.
Yeah.
It becomes this source of comfort, this source of strength, this source of inspiration that's always available to them.
That's a beautiful image, having this touchstone, this connection to the divine that you can access at any moment.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the power of ritual and repetition in shaping our inner lives.
It does, and it also highlights the wisdom in placing such a profound and multifaceted chapter at the very beginning of the Qur'an. It sets the stage, it lays the groundwork, and it becomes this foundation upon which, the rest of the book unfolds.
Well, this deep dive into Surah Al-Fatiha has been truly eye-opening. We started by unpacking the individual verses, then we explored some broader themes, and now we've seen how it all comes together in the lived experience of a Muslim. It's a chapter that is both simple and profound. It's accessible, yet it's so full of depth, and it's really been it's been a pleasure exploring it with you today. Surah Al-Fatiha is truly a gift, a source of guidance and inspiration, a reminder of our relationship with God. And while we've covered a lot, there's always more to discover within these 7 verses. So to all our listeners out there, I encourage you to continue exploring Surah Al-Fatiha and delve deeper into the wisdom of the Qur'an. Keep asking questions, keep seeking, and keep the spirit of learning alive.
I agree.